Meet King Henry. He has a crown, a castle, and an army. His clothes are stitched with gold, his plates made from silver, and his word is law. Now meet Joe. Joe has a small apartment, a job that barely covers the bills, and a stack of overdue notices sitting on his kitchen counter. So who's winning at life? Come on. It's obviously the king, right? Wrong. And the proof isn't in anyone's bank account or army. It's hiding somewhere much smaller and much more painful. A single agonizing toothache. So, here's the deal. King Henry can have his crown or Joe's tiny apartment, and there's a real chance he takes the apartment. Not because he'd enjoy being broke, but because Joe's everyday life is protected by things the most powerful man of the Middle Ages couldn't buy at any price. To see why, we're going to follow both men through one ordinary day. Same hours, 6 centuries apart. By the end, you'll know which one actually had power over his own life. Morning. The cold dawn of power. The sun isn't up yet, but King Henry is already awake. Not by choice. The fire in his great stone bedchamber has died down, and a bitter, damp cold is seeping from the walls. His rooms are vast and hung with expensive tapestries, but they do little to stop the drafts that snake through every crack. He's shivering under a mountain of furs, and servants rush in, their breath fogging in the air, to get the fire going again. But the chill has already settled deep in Henry's bones. But the cold isn't the worst part. A dull, persistent throb is pulsing in his jaw. It's been there for days, a nagging toothache that's slowly turning into a full-blown crisis. He can command 1,000 men to march to war, but he's utterly powerless against the rebellion in his own mouth. Hold on to that toothache. It's going to matter more than the crown. Hundreds of years later, Joe's alarm goes off. The sound is jarring, but the room is not. It's small, sure, but it's bathed in a silent, invisible warmth. A little thermostat on the wall, a piece of technology more miraculous than any royal enchantment, has kept his apartment at a perfect temperature all night. He has a slight headache from a beer last night. He stumbles to the bathroom, opens a mirrored cabinet, and swallows 2 ibuprofen. The pain will be a memory in 20 minutes. Henry's morning begins. A servant brings a basin of water heated over the new fire. He washes his hands and face. Nobles cared about hygiene more than the movies suggest. But staying clean was intense, relentless labor. His toilet, a garderobe, is basically a stone chute that empties into the castle moat. A marvel for its time, but a fragrant nightmare by our standards. For his teeth, he might chew on a twig or rub them with a rough cloth, maybe with a mix of salt or herbs. But these are no match for the deep infection taking root in his jaw. Joe turns a knob, and a torrent of perfectly hot, clean water erupts from a spout over his head. He stands under a private waterfall of sanitary, temperature-controlled water. A luxury that would be totally inconceivable to King Henry, whose baths meant servants hauling and heating dozens of buckets for a soak in a wooden tub. Joe brushes his teeth with a scientifically formulated paste, scrubbing away bacteria before spitting it down a drain that carries it miles away to a sophisticated treatment plant. In the first 20 minutes of his day, Joe has used more advanced technology for his personal comfort than a medieval kingdom's entire treasury could produce. And he doesn't even think about it. Day. The burdens of work and the taste of fear. King Henry's day is a performance. He sits on his throne, holding court. He listens to land disputes, dispenses justice, and navigates the treacherous currents of flattery and veiled threats. Violence hums constantly under everything: feuding nobles, the risk of assassination, the ever-present pull of war. His own family might even be his deadliest rivals. For lunch, a feast is laid out. It's another display of wealth. The tables are loaded with roasted meats, pies, and expensive bread. But look closer. The variety is limited by the season. The meat, while plentiful, is often heavily salted or smoked for preservation. People avoided food that was obviously rotten, and heavy spicing signaled wealth. But every meal was still a roll of the dice against food-borne illness. Dysentery could be deadly, even for a king. He drinks wine, not just for pleasure, but because the well water can be dangerously contaminated. His food is a status symbol, but it carries a constant risk. Joe's workday is, by contrast, profoundly safe. He works in a distribution center scanning boxes. The work is tedious and his boss is annoying. But the building is governed by a book of safety regulations thicker than any medieval law text. Fire suppression systems, workplace safety standards, and labor laws create a bubble of security around him. While accidents can happen, his job doesn't come with the daily threat of murder or plague. For lunch, Joe walks to the cafeteria. By the standards of history, his options are absurd. He can get a sandwich with fresh vegetables, even in the middle of winter. He can grab a piece of fruit, a banana maybe, that was grown on the other side of the world and delivered through a global supply chain of unimaginable speed. He might complain about the price of a soda, but he has access to a variety, quality, and safety of food that King Henry couldn't secure with all his gold. Measured by the thing that actually mattered, not dying from your lunch, Joe's cheap cafeteria tray beats the king's feast. Afternoon. The crisis of the body. By afternoon, King Henry's toothache is a firestorm. The pain is relentless, eclipsing all thoughts of statecraft. He can't pretend anymore. He summons the court physician. The physician is a man of learning, but his knowledge is based on the theory of humors, an ancient framework that was largely wrong. He examines the king's swollen jaw and declares the king's blood is too hot. He might try bloodletting to balance the humors. But for the tooth itself, the solution is more direct. The barber surgeon is called. This man, who cuts hair and performs minor surgeries, arrives with a terrifying set of iron pliers. There is no anesthetic, just a large gulp of wine. The procedure is an unholy trinity of brute force, septic conditions, and unimaginable agony. Even if the extraction is successful, it could easily lead to a fatal infection in the days that follow. This is the absolute limit of King Henry's power. He rules a nation, yet he is utterly helpless before the bacteria in his own mouth. All his gold and all his armies can't stop this pain or the infection that could kill him. It's a fear so constant it's like the draft in his room, unnoticed until it becomes the only thing in the world. During his afternoon break, Joe remembers he's due for a dental checkup. He pulls out his phone, a device that offers access to a universe of information that would have seemed like pure witchcraft in the 15th century. He opens an app and books an appointment for next Tuesday with a few taps. It's a minor inconvenience. But let's imagine Joe's situation was as serious as Henry's. He'd go to a clinic. A dentist would take a high-resolution X-ray of his skull, diagnose the abscess with perfect clarity, and administer a local anesthetic, a nerve block that renders a part of his body completely free of pain. She could perform a root canal or extract the tooth with minimal pain. And most importantly, she would give him antibiotics, pills that can eliminate the very infection that would likely have killed the king. This is the great divergence. King Henry's power is external, held in armies and land. Joe's power in this moment is internal. It is the power to conquer pain and defeat the microscopic invaders that have plagued humanity forever. Joe doesn't have servants, but he has science. He has infrastructure. He has access to a system that makes him, in the face of illness, infinitely more powerful than the most powerful man of the Middle Ages. Night, the poverty of royal entertainment. As night falls, Henry's castle is plunged into a world of shadows. Hundreds of expensive beeswax candles burn in the great hall, filling it with a smoky haze and a light weaker than a single modern light bulb. The king, nursing his jaw, sits for the evening's entertainment. A court jester tells jokes. A minstrel plays a lute. It's a distraction, but a pale one. The world outside the candlelight is a vast, dark unknown. News travels at the speed of a horse, so he's effectively isolated from most of his own kingdom. For Henry, entertainment is live, limited, and repetitive. Books exist, but they are incredibly rare, each copied by hand. The very idea of capturing a performance to replay it later is fantasy. Joe gets home, flicks a switch, and floods his apartment with brilliant, unwavering light. He's tired. He grabs a cheap beer from his refrigerator, a device that keeps his food perfectly preserved and chilled around the clock. He sinks into his couch and boots up his game console. A screen on his wall lights up, offering him not just a story to watch, but a universe to inhabit. He can explore alien planets, command futuristic armies, or, if he wants, he can even roleplay as a medieval king. From the comfort of his warm, safe apartment, Joe can experience a fantasy version of Henry's life, commanding armies and building castles, with none of the freezing cold, the political danger, or the agonizing toothache. King Henry's entire world was his immediate vicinity. Joe, in his small apartment, has a portal to infinite worlds. The average person with a gaming console today has access to a variety and volume of experience that no past monarch could have ever imagined. So who really has it better? This isn't to dismiss the real struggles of modern life. Joe's life is hard, he worries about money, and his job is insecure. The point isn't that modern poverty is easy. It's that the entire baseline of human existence has been rewritten. King Henry had immense power. He had servants and fine clothes, but he lived in a world of constant grinding friction. He was cold, often in pain, and at risk from his food, his water, and his fellow man. He was trapped in a body and a world he had very little control over. Life expectancy for even the highest nobility was shockingly low, dragged down by infant mortality, childbirth, war, and disease. Joe, for all his anxieties, lives a life of profound physical security. His world is one of managed risk, of invisible systems designed to keep him safe, warm, and healthy. He has power over pain, disease, darkness, and distance in ways King Henry couldn't even fathom. The story of human progress isn't just about kings and queens. It's the story of the thermostat, the antibiotic, and the flush toilet. These are the things a medieval king would truly envy. He might not want Joe's job, but he would trade his crown and his castle in a heartbeat for a single course of amoxicillin, a hot shower, or one pain-free hour in a dentist's chair. The real luxury isn't a crown. It's the ibuprofen in your cabinet, the clean water from your tap, and the quiet confidence that a toothache won't be the end of you. That is a power greater than any throne. What modern convenience do you think a medieval king would find most miraculous? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to explore more about how our past shapes our present, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.